3.
So we find out later that this guy is a slug, and not a demon. Not a demon king, but instead, a Lord Slug.
This joke is so tired, its nickname is Firestone. But you know, it does speak in King Piccolo's favor that they decided to just rip him off whole hog and search for a decent movie villain.
It's worth noting that these top 3 are all favorites in our eyes. While certain criteria may have put them in a particular order, to us, these last 3 villains are the best the series has to offer, and the finer qualities of each were coined in large part by the demon Namekian slug lord himself, King Piccolo.
By the time the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament was wrapping up, we'd had plenty of villains. The comedic trio of the Peel-Off Gang, the ambitious and terrible Red Ribbon Army, the professional assassin Tao Pai Pai, even Baba's troop of monstrous misfits and the Crane School.
Quick note, Ten Shinhan didn't make the list because he barely even qualified as an antagonist and hardly even commits any acts of villainy besides breaking Yamcha's leg, which, while terrible, ranks kinda low.
But it was with the entrance of the terrifying King Piccolo that we were introduced to a true out-and-out big bad. An all-powerful demon king with sights set on world domination and the means to do it, sparing nobody in his merciless bloody conquest to secure his place atop a throne of bodies and rubble.
And it is both bloody and merciless. After being set free from his prison, forced upon him by Master Roshi's late master Mutaito, the first thing on his to-do list is knocking off every single fighter he can find so nobody can put him back where he belongs. Spitting out more children than an Irish Catholic rabbit, he makes quick work of numerous previous antagonists from the World Martial Arts Tournament, including Nom, Giran, Manwolf, and even Krillin, no!
Yeah, see? We're all familiar with death in Dragon Ball, but at this point in the series, Krillin's death is completely shocking and unprecedented. The manner in which it happens as well is enough to make your blood run cold as he's helplessly murdered by Piccolo's henchmen, leaving his body for his friends to find and Goku furious.
It was rare until this point to see Goku this heartbroken and angry over, well, anything. But the death of Krillin leaves him in a blind rage that ends up nearly getting him killed. Twice. It's a rampage of revenge and destruction that leads him to King Piccolo, and a fierce fight that leaves him having to use the ultra-convenient ultra-divine water to stand any chance.
King Piccolo is a frightening, imposing, monstrously strong beast of a villain at this point in the series. His green and purple color scheme work well with his towering figure, and he definitely carries an air of authority around him. Ruling through fist and fear, he gets shit done. All with a veritable orchestra of musically inspired henchmen to do his bidding. Can I just take a second to admit how crazy it is that Piccolo and all his henchmen are named after instruments, yet still manage to be intimidating? I mean, except for piano?
By the time he's made his wish on the Dragon Balls to gain back his youth, he's seen to the death of 3 of the main ensemble, including Krillin, Roshi, and Chaozu. And then, in a move never before seen nor repeated, he kills Shenron firsthand, removing any hope of bringing them back. It's a shocking scene that raises the stakes of the arc to record highs and makes the ensuing battle all the more tense.
What Piccolo does with his youth is also pretty compelling. He immediately takes over the entire world, then proceeds to implement his own twisted laws. He even begins a lottery to pick which province he'd attack with his demonic henchmen, nearly getting Bulma's parents killed. It's only thanks to Ten Shinhan that he doesn't wipe them and their city off the face of the earth.
And throughout all of this, his evil, twisted personality is on full display. Whether it be in battle or his role as ruler, everything he does is as dark and twisted as you can get while still keeping this a kid's show. From taking control of the world, murdering all opponents, making crime legal, and even betraying the lovable, unforgettable Peel-Off trio.
By the way, they're also in the arc and they're a ton of fun.
He causes no end of grief and suffering for the entire world.
And his battle with Goku really emphasizes his underhanded, villainous character. He uses every dirty tactic he can think of to beat Goku in both of their fights, going as far as to take Ten Shinhan as hostage and then cripple Goku, both as a manner of achieving his victory and flat-out torture. Of course, Goku barely manages to scrap together a win, but never before in the series has he had to fight as hard as he does here.
If there's any strikes against him, it's that he certainly doesn't have much depth besides being incredibly evil, but the visuals and his actions within the story do more than enough to sell him, regardless of a lack of complex motives. Some people just want to see the world burn, and Piccolo is happy to provide the kerosene and matches.
You could also say that his use of the Dragon Balls to wish back his youth instead of immortality could be a flaw, but that's arguable too. Also, the manner in which Goku powers up is easily one of the cheapest and least satisfying in the series. But that's more of a mark against the arc and less the character himself. and it's still one of the best arcs in the series, easily the best pre-Z.
King Piccolo set the template for main villains of Dragon Ball, and would be a high bar to hit moving forward. A towering, terrifying, tenacious tyrant, he earns his spot firmly at number 3. Hail to the king, baby.
2.
Ah, but what would come after a king but a prince?
Well, a couple of arcs later anyway.
What is the process of succession within the Saiyan hierarchy? Is it like Klingons? Would he have had to have killed his father to become king?
Met his wife.
Regardless, much like a prince to a king, Prince Vegeta ranks at number 2. Barely, I might add. There's a pretty decent argument for him being numero uno, but that spot has been dominated pretty firmly by...
Hey, don't spoil people, Kaiser.
Of course, because who else could it be?
Vegeta is a complex and polarizing character whose impact on the series can hardly be measured. Fans of the series need little backstory. He's the Saiyan Prince. He came to Earth for immortality via the Dragon Balls, but Goku and friends send him packing. He then goes on to be a staple for the series in a big way.
While Raditz may have opened the entire world of Dragon Ball up to the introduction of monkeys in space, it was the appearance of Vegeta with his bald, burly bestie Nappa that truly set things on a crazy new course.
Vegeta's design is unique, and in a good way. While most characters would never be able to pull off the troll doll hair and a height that leaves him chest-high with most of the cast, his ever-present smirk and steely eyes, accompanied by a posture and presence that just screams confidence, instantly communicates his personality.
But he's a lot more than he looks. His first appearance in the Saiyan saga uses his partner Nappa to full advantage. His clear authority over Nappa tells the audience, through Nappa's actions, that this character is clearly the more terrifying of the two. And when the Bald Bruiser has murdered his way through most of the present cast, you can only assume that Vegeta must be unstoppable.
And when he does throw down with Goku, it's a marvelous battle. A Saiyan elite versus a commoner in a drag-out, no-holds-barred spectacle that pushes them both to the very brink, and a beam struggle that has arguably never been topped, even edging out Gohan versus Cell for many.
Of course, after his loss on Earth, which took the combined efforts of every single surviving warrior on the battlefield, he would continue to be a big player in the coming Namek saga. With his own selfish goals in mind, he continues the role of villain masterfully, even as an even bigger, badder figure looms over him and the heroes. This is Vegeta at some of his best, too. Outsmarting and outfighting opponents on all sides, sneaking around and strategically murdering his way to victory, until everything comes crashing down for him, as things with Vegeta want to do.
One word that is completely inseparable from Vegeta is...
Short,
No.
Annoying?
Okay,
narcissistic,
come on.
What else speaks?
All right, the joke's
Napoleon
made.
complex.
Okay, now you're using 2 words. It's pride. Vegeta is a proud warrior due to his own inherent strength, his status, and the race from which he hails. He is the Prince of all Saiyans, and it's as intrinsic to his character as his spiky hair and affinity for tights.
Which leads us straight into possibly the most defining aspect of Vegeta's character, his rivalry with Goku. While the idea of a rival for a main character had been thrown around more than a few times, few characters actually pursued this goal as feverishly as Vegeta did, and none for nearly the same length of time. While Piccolo's grudge definitely sticks around for a good while, it's all but squashed by the time he's dying for the man's son.
And it's through that rivalry that Vegeta finds both urgency and development. After his crippling defeat at the hands of Frieza, he leaves his dying wishes to Goku. But upon his resurrection, the murdering prince's goals become crystal clear and solitary. Become stronger than Goku. While this overwhelming drive to defeat his rival propels him to new heights through the Cell Saga, in which I might add, he toes the line between anti-villain and full-on villain on several occasions.
How many people does he murder in his fight with Android 18?
And how many does he put at risk when he lets Semi-Perfect Cell absorb her? Oh right, all of them.
It isn't until the Buu Saga when we see it come full circle. After the death of future Trunks, we see a much more subdued, almost domesticated Vegeta. With Goku out of the picture, he's focused mostly on keeping up with his training rather than dominating his now deceased rival.
But when Goku re-enters the picture and Vegeta is faced with the reality of the power gap between them, his final act as a villain plays out. Through a Faustian bargain, he gains a tremendous power-up, but at the loss of any moral fiber he may have developed through the series. He careens the fight against Babidi into a grudge match against Goku, slaughtering thousands in a show of intent.
This fight is among the finest in the series as well, showcasing fantastic choreography and memorable character moments that all add up to one of the most powerful moving scenes in Dragon Ball, his sacrifice to defeat Majin Buu. And this is where the true complexity of Vegeta comes into play.
We've mentioned his role as an anti-villain before, His goals have never been for the greater good, even after they have switched from immortality to defeating threats against our heroes. He acts autonomously and with zero regard for the people around him, including allies, his wife, and his baby son. While he reigns in his violence post-Frieza, this seems more a means to an end than anything. He knows that if he causes trouble, his chances at a fair rematch with Goku go down the drain.
Which is why it's so understandable that when Goku disappears for good, he loses his will to fight and improve with the ferocity on display in the previous arcs. It isn't until Goku makes his reappearance that all those feelings come flooding back and he makes the worst decision of his life. As amazing as it sounds, Vegeta does not become a good person until the end of the series. It's through his sacrifice that he finally finds redemption, and even then, his single-minded obsession with overcoming Goku isn't properly settled until nearly the end of the entire saga.
And that's what makes his development so incredible. At no point before Buu does he ever fight for anyone else, even when his goals happen to overlap with others. He is a selfish, violent, merciless bastard throughout nearly the entirety of the series proper, which is what makes him such a great parallel to Goku, whose actions are largely selfish and single-minded as well, though with far more care for the world and people around him. The rivalry between these two works on every level.
It's also worth noting that it's Vegeta's actions that most commonly lead to more conflict. He goads Frieza into transforming, argues against finding Gero before the creation of the androids, allows Semi-Perfect Cell to absorb Android 18 becoming perfect, and leads to the release of Majin Buu. No other character is this detrimental to the hero so consistently.
But through his redemption, we find a character who is now even more ripe for exploration and development. A reformed, genocidal Prince of Death come family man, dead set on protecting his family and his newly accepted home. Which is why his segments in Battle of Gods and Resurrection F are some of the absolute best. Hell, even Super does tremendous things with him, giving him some of the shining moments of the entire show.
To close, Vegeta starts as a bad man, but ends up being one of the most classic and important characters in the series. Temperamental, violent, and proud, he is the best example of a reformed villain in the series, and we think the second best villain from top to bottom. Now, tune in next time for something that may come as a surprise to all of you, who've never heard the name Frieza in your lives anyway.
Here's a list of our honorable mentions.
Number 1.
Ha! You fools!
Frieza, that's boring. What do we look like, sheep to you?
No, it's Monster Carrot. Points in favor? 1, look at his design. Shades, baller, suit, red, purple, and baby poop green. Nobody's cooler. 2, he could turn people into carrots. That's terrifying! How can you beat him if you're a carrot? Overload him with vitamin A, give him tooth decay with excess sugar? Unless your name starts with a B and ends with Ed Gito, get the out of here. 3, he's a mob boss. He'll put a hit on your ass if he doesn't see to your demise himself. 4, he makes mochi on the moon. That's goddamn classy. Points against? Nothing. Monster Carrot's the best. Now he's out to go make 1,000,000 bunny babies and take over the world. DBcember, out.
1.
How many people thought it wasn't going to be Frieza at number 1? Sure, you could call us boring, but we don't find value in contrarianism just for its own sake. Some things are obvious because they are right. Not that it's necessarily wrong to think that the number 1 slot should go to Vegeta, King Piccolo, or even Cell, or anybody else on this list, frankly, given your preference. But the truth is, we couldn't see anyone else but the Galactic Emperor himself sitting at the top.
His role in the universe is one of the first and most vital parts of Frieza's character. Whereas other villains in the series had built up to galaxy-wide domination, it is Frieza who holds the title of full-on Emperor. With dozens, if not hundreds, of races under his employment and/or subjugation, this mighty horned potentate is not just a surprise for our heroes once they touch down on Namek, but the biggest threat they've ever faced.
Whereas Cell's power and ambition reached only as far as the Earth, and poor King Kai's planet, and Buu's antics rarely amounted to much more than the loss of a few planets in the grand scheme of things. Frieza is the ruler of races and worlds. His impact within the universe spans farther than any other.
What's truly terrifying about him is something we saw on a lesser scale in Vegeta. In Frieza's assault on Namek, we witness henchmen who dwarf our heroes in every manner at Frieza's beck and call, taking orders without the slightest argument and showing a bottomless fear at the slightest hint of his displeasure. He is their master, and as we watch Vegeta struggling endlessly to even stay alive against these monsters, it's frightening what depths of power this Napoleonic madman could be hiding.
And while he certainly takes his time to get going, each step he takes to his final form leaves bodies in the imprints. He dominates every single one of our heroes with a fraction of his strength and is an unstoppable force through the entire saga, only bowing to Son Goku after forcing him to fulfill an ancient millennia-old alien prophecy.
He has no problem torturing and murdering Nail, Krillin, Dende, Vegeta, and almost Gohan and Piccolo, as he exemplifies his mastery of not just the galaxy, but life itself. With each new form, we're awakened to a fresh new hell. Jeez, I feel like you could write some pretty sick metal lyrics about this guy. Oh, wait. They did.
But what makes Frieza such a fascinating character isn't just his strength and impact on the universe, but his personality. While his power and composure are imposing, his overall demeanor contrasts this wickedly. While not talking too much about the Japanese side of things, his original voice actor, Ryusei Nakao, is a delight, and the original writing for him in the manga and anime are a treat. His dialogue is flowery, polite, and aristocratic to a T, so much so that he comes off as condescending and patronizing to those who he chooses to bargain with.
And while certain English interpretations of him would vary wildly, Christopher Ayers-Kai knocks these qualities out of the park as he finds a middle ground between superiority and petulance, handling his wordier exchanges with a Shakespearean talent and shaking you down to the core whenever the heavier, more violent moments come into play.
There's something so slimy and hateful about the way he communicates with others. Think Hans Landa mixed with Emperor Palpatine colored by Dr. Frankenfurter. He's so confident and comfortable with his position that he finds little to lose patience with. The haggling and threatening of the Namekian villagers is loquacious and articulate, but tinged with an undeniable lust for blood and power, and a disdain for the impudent.
And when he finally starts to lose ground, his calm, polite demeanor crashes with wild results. He screams, hollers, and digs deep into his bag of insults and threats against his opponents, undermining his composure in a way that is shocking, threatening, yet oddly satisfying. He's a spoiled brat through and through, but one who can easily wipe you and your planet off the face of the star map with so much as a thought and a wave of the hand.
Of course his hubris is his biggest flaw, but that is all just part of his character. The only hope our heroes have on several occasions is that their actions will be beneath Frieza's notice. Whether it be letting Vegeta steal the Dragon Balls from under his nose, or his genocide of the Namekians leaving him without a way to use them. Not to mention his dilly-dallying with Son Goku leading to his ultimate defeat. These moments showcase the flaws that make a perfect villain. Sorry, Sal, you're still my boo.
While perfect certainly is subjective, of course, we can't think of any other villain in the series that checks as many boxes as he does. A major one, of course, being his impact on the franchise. Just ask someone to name some villains from Dragon Ball, and you'll note that a good majority of them name Frieza first. He's also a catalyst for the biggest transformation in the entire series that would change the story and tone of the rest of its run. The Super Saiyan.
He even managed to inspire the familial spin-off Cooler. I mean, sure, he was only one entry above bookending this list, but it's still pretty amazing when you're so popular they start making films about your brother. Also, he had a dad too. Say hello to King Cold before he... Oh, he's dad.
And have you seen any films about Platinum Cell? Diamond Boo? No, you got Golden Frieza in all his tacky glory. Sure, the film itself certainly has its flaws, but the overall point is, it's all about Frieza. No other villain in the series has a comeback like this, with perhaps the exception of Vegeta. And while the Prince may have done it better, Frieza did it bigger.
Frieza did everything bigger, from his film to his empire. Hell, his power level was so big that they stopped even talking about them after he died. He would then go on to be a measuring stick for all villains after, by both other characters and the fandom itself. When everyone is comparing themselves to you, you know you've made it.
From his slimy, delightfully evil demeanor to his unfathomable strength to his unique, ever-changing design, Frieza locks himself into the #1 slot on our list, and in our hearts. All hail Lord Frieza! May his reign be long and... Well, this has been DBcember.
Thanks once again for joining us on this journey of things we love and tolerate about Dragon Ball.
There's no end in sight for this franchise as Super enters the Universe Survival arc next year, and we're excited to see where the franchise will go.
And you can expect us to follow each and every step along the way. Leave your comments below and make sure to join us next year as we discuss the top 24 reasons Monster Carrot is actually the best.
Number 24, Bunny Car, aka Bunny Honey Fur Magnet.
Until then, sayonara and have a happy DBcember.